not a YouTuber, just like making videos. And the topic of discussion today is why haven't black people detached themselves from white people? Why are black people still relying on white people, you know what I'm saying, as a means to make a living and so forth? Why haven't we stopped sucking the white man's teat? You know, and people always talk about this, like, when white people do this to us, when they treat us unfairly, when they brutalize us, like we can go into our own communities and do our own things. When people say, well, the fall of the black community was when they shut down a lot of these factory jobs and went overseas. Then we have the actor says, well, why haven't we created our own factory jobs? Well, things are a little bit more complicated than that. And in this video, we're going to examine it. I'm going to explain why hasn't black people successfully detached themselves from white people. And once again, I'm going to present irrefutable information. Now, the first reason is obvious. It's the white man's house. He runs the show. That's the thing. So you think you're going to expand your wings? You actually think the black community is going to grow and prosper in the white man's house when he runs the show, when it's his rules? I'm like, and that means even if you build something up, they can come in and knock it down like a sandcastle and whatnot, to show you who's the boss. Let's go back into Tulsa, Oklahoma. There are black people angry at other black people. Why didn't we build another Black Wall Street? Rather than be angry at the people who destroyed Black Wall Street. Hold them accountable. I'm like, we treat white supremacy like a natural disaster. Like if a tornado came and destroyed your house, of course you can't hold that tornado accountable. And that's what the white man is just like. We just look at him as an act of God, like a tornado, hurricane, a flood, or whatever. Hey, that's the act of God. There ain't nothing we can do but pick up the pieces and just rebuild. No, you gotta hold this man here accountable. We always say black people need to take accountability. Well, when is white America gonna ever take any sort of accountability? And that's the thing. And when we talk about manhood lessons, the black man needs to be a man, but a lot of you Negroes are too scared to challenge or even question the white man. And then you wonder why your women look at you. You wonder why your black women don't respect you because you haven't challenged this man. You're still a boy in his eyes. You act like a battered wife, abused wife. How a woman will make excuses why her husband is beating her, and she's like, well, maybe if I stay out the way, maybe if I do this right, he wouldn't put his hands on me. And that's what you black men have become. Just, well, if we don't do this, if we don't run away, if we pull out our ID card fast and our driver's license fast enough, maybe the white man won't shoot us down in the street. Maybe if we didn't wear, these clothes and so forth. But that's the thing. But the black, here in America, there's always been this thing called the Negro, the thing called the Negro problem or the Negro question. As if white people was like, what are we going to do about these black people? Even aborigines, even white people that was against slavery was still opposed to the idea of these black people just walking around freely. If you read Frederick Douglass' books, you would have known that. And let's say, hypothetically speaking, the black man, lets black people, do their own thing in their own little community. Say, hey, they can eat watermelon, they can dance a jig, whatever they want to do, and they're small. We're going to leave them alone. And what's going to happen is, eventually, our community is going to grow, and that we're going to need more space to accommodate our population. Meaning, chop down more trees and build up more houses and so forth. And then the white man is like, whoa. Hey, these people are getting a little bit too too big for their britches. I don't mind them sitting inside their own community and spitting watermelon seeds, but now they're expanding. They're growing. And you know, their community is twice the size it was 2 months ago. I'm like, these people multiply like fucking rabbits here. Now we gotta do something about this. Go call Jimmy Bob. Go get the boys up. We gotta do something. That's how it is. That, you know what I'm saying? And there's evidence to prove this. The black man thinking he's going to just sit on his tree stump and just, you know what I mean, just do his own thing, and hopefully the white man won't mess with him. Man, you living, that's a pipe dream. You living in a fantasy. That's what happened in Black Wall Street, you know. Blacks, you know, they claim it was because they wanted a dude touch the white girl or whatever, but they seen these black, first they didn't care what these black people were doing, then they see them grow and expand, and they say, hey, we got to do something about this. And even to this day, these battered and beat up Negroes are still, we're blaming ourselves without blaming the culprit, and that's one of the main reasons why the black community won't grow. But still, the black man thinking that he's going to have a stake here, he's going to have some sort of independence here inside the white man's, you know, land, is like a kid living in his parents' basement saying, hey, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to be independent. I'm going to buy my own food. I don't need my parents. Why? He's living down in their basement. And then one day he comes home and sees his PlayStation, his furniture in the front yard for a yard sale. He starts whining and crying. And then his dad tells him, he says, son, this is my house. I can do whatever we want. I want to. You know, so if black people ever want to get some sort of leg up, you know, we'll have to claim some sort of sovereignty, and that would be, you know, virtually impossible. You know, it's not going to happen. You know, the Native Americans got it because they claim they have some sort of claim to this land. You know, we don't. That's why a lot of black people, you know, claim to, you know what I'm saying, we're indigenous to the continent. You know, we're not from Africa. But let's go into, you know, people say that, okay, we know that this is the white man's territory, but still, why can't black people just create their own jobs? Why we don't have to rely on them, you know, for jobs and so forth? You know, once again, this is a sophisticated matter. You know, you got to know how economics work. I don't care about how all the mom and pop stores you have in your neighborhood. What drives the economy is industry. You know what I'm saying? Big labor jobs like shipyards, the automobile industry, you know, import, export. You know, just like slavery. Slavery wasn't a mom and pop outfit. That was a whole entire industry. You know, and I'm saying that cotton was being exported. You know, that drives the economy. So, and that's the thing what black people did. They said, okay, I'm going to go out here. We're going to work at the white man's hospitals and, you know what I'm saying, his lumber yards and so forth. We're going to take that money and come back and we're going to invest in the community. You know, this is what the Mexicans do. People always talk about how the Mexicans have such superior group economics. They do. But the Mexicans work for a lot of white people. A lot of white these corporations or whatever. You know, go to TGI Fridays or Denny's, you know, or Chili's, Outback Steakhouse. You know, 9 times out of 10 they got Mexicans working in the kitchen. You know, look at, you know what I'm saying, these hotels or whatever. They got Mexicans cleaning the rooms up. You know, so for these Mexicans with their money, like invest in their own community and create their own little restaurants and so forth. But the Mexicans haven't created any sort of like powerful industry here in America, like an automobile plant. You know, that's something hard to do. And a lot of these plants from back in the days, they got grants from the government. Because they said, hey, we know we want to start this automobile chain and we think it's good for America and it will put America to work. So they get a bunch of money from the government. Matter of fact, Walt Disney was financed by the government. You know what I'm saying? Walt Disney World got money from the government. But a black dude couldn't do that. Imagine if a black dude came up to the U.S. government and said, hey, I got this idea for a car. You know, I want to start my own factory. I want a loan. I want a grant or whatever. And then the white man shake his head. He says, no, Negro. You know, what you can do, you can go bake some pies or whatever. You can strum that banjo or whatever. But, you know, we're not giving you money to start up your own automobile plant. What we will do, we'll give you some money to start your own goddamn watermelon plant. watermelon patch, but no auto plant Negro. And that's the thing. So now we're going to go into this concept of integration. Now, a lot of black people felt that it was integration that weakened us, that we was so much stronger during segregation, when white people was over here and black people was over there. Now, first of all, not every place in America was segregated. Some places more segregated than others. It depended on how the white man was feeling. If you read Malcolm X's book, Malcolm X went to a white school and he was like president of his class or something like that. I think when he was in grade school and so forth. Malcolm Little even lived in a white, like an all-white boarding house with these white foster parents and so forth. So, so we have to get a clear understanding about that. But if you do feel we were much stronger under segregation, then you would have to say that racism is a necessary evil of some sort, because a lot of black people, because we love white people more than white people love us, we chose to integrate with them. We chose to want to mingle with them and want them to accept us and so forth. We chose that. We can't blame everything on Martin Luther King. There was black people trying to rub elbows, with white people, even when Martin Luther King was still in his diapers. So, I'm like, and we'll have to think the KKK. We have to think all the racist white people that did everything they could to keep us at, at bay, to keep us over there, and said, hey, you Negroes stay over here, don't come around here and so forth. But the main areas where white people segregate us at is really kind of, I would say, well, they had designated areas for us, certain doors we had to go through, and eating. That the white people didn't fancy the idea of sitting down eating next to black people. Now, for instance, if you go into Woolworth, when black people boycotted Woolworth, it was because they wouldn't let them sit at the cafeteria and eat there. Black people can shop there, all they want. They want that money, but the idea of just sitting next to eating and listening to black people smack on their food, white people was completely opposed against that. So we have to look at the elements of, where black people were segregated and so forth. Because white people still was about money. They still, I'm like the store where Emmett Till, was whistling at that white girl, or some people say he talked with a lister or whatever. That was a white-owned store in a black community where black people frequent. So I'm like, so we got to get, we got to really properly analyze these things right here. And places like California, when it was up and starting, when a lot of people was migrating there for jobs and so forth, at first it was a very tolerant place. It was a progressive place. It was a place where you can go to a nightclub and see black men and white women, or black women and white men mingling together, and so forth. And then the racist white people said, wait a minute, we got to put a stop to this. I'm seeing too much interracial dating going on. Let's go get some good old boys. And that's what they did. The LAPD, why the LAPD had this long history of just a brutality against blacks, of being racist. They went down to Mississippi, said, we got to get these ghetto boys from the Mississippi, make them police officers, and show these Negroes what time it is. So in a lot of ways, if we love segregation so much, we have to look at racism as a necessary evil, and we have to thank the Ku Klux Klan, thank all these racist white people for getting on their job and thumping us on the back of our heads for being too comfortable around white people. And that's the thing. So if we need racist white people to exist, eventually that's going to bite us in our ass. Because even if we are doing our own things, okay, we're going to have our own clubs or whatever, these racist white people can just march in and do whatever they want against us. Because, our thing wasn't really, a lot of these people don't believe in a plan of attack. And that's why the Black Panthers was formed and so forth. So therefore, even if we do segregate ourselves, we're still going to have problems. And that's the thing, and that's the reason why black people didn't detach ourselves from white people, because we couldn't. Now think about Liberia. I'm gonna end it on this. That we was starting up a colony in Africa, and a lot of blacks said, "Hey, we're going to get out of here. We're going to go back to the motherland and so forth. There's no way we're going to get a break, in this place." And a lot of blacks went, but a lot of black people didn't know. What I'm saying? They didn't know how to go. I didn't know what to do. They didn't receive that information. And I read in one of my books of lynchings, there was one pastor actually that was trying to round up people in the South to go say, "Hey, we're going to get out of here. We're going to this new place in Liberia. We're getting the hell out of away from this devil and so forth." And they hung them. The Ku Klux Klan hung them. So if white people hate us so much, don't want to be around us, but at the same time, they didn't at the time like the idea of us leaving and going to Africa, because they wanted a bottom class of people where they can just torture and humiliate and it makes them feel good about themselves, because a lot of white people was miserable, but it gave them joy seeing black people miserable. Yeah, as they say, misery love company. And think about how Marcus Garvey was sabotaged, and he was just trying to get black people out of white people's hair. So therefore, it's a very complex issue on why we never kind of built our own away from white people. But that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching, and never stop learning.